Okay, so I wanted to show this concordance. So we see this mural art here, and see, this is graffiti. Someone put like this. You see the little IP address, and this little that, and this little sigil here. That's like graffiti, but it's kind of serendipitous. And the guy, he actually parked a little van, put a little flat tire on the van so he can camp out here, and he put a little like little thing over here, and I have it on another video, but you can see those yellow lines coming off those birds, and that's kind of showing you like this is the yellow mark trail, because I've seen these things, the red mark trail, the blue mark trail, and the yellow mark trail, but this mural actually kind of like a telling of this yellow path trail. And these are like operators in our world, and you know, you're saying, well, that's just crazy, that doesn't make any sense, you're off the page. And that's not true, because the fundamental nature of our world is synthesized, and that's what's true. And if this premise is not recognized, then you're in the wrong. You're someone, you think you're right, but you're in the wrong. And I want to bring some evidence towards that. In my experience, not only just my experience, because this is experiences other people have. You hear tales of this for thousands of years all over the world. So this is the real circumstance under which we live, and we can understand what the ignorant feel is correct, which is numerous. That the majority of people have this Dunning-Kruger narcissistic correctness. They think nothing more than the science of greed, nothing more than the science of deceit, nothing more than the science of cowardice. You know, the cowardly, lying, greedy people. These people is polarized, and it's the great majority. It's the great majority, and they're so arrogant and narcissistic. They want to teach you all these people come out of the woodwork, flopping over each other to try to teach you a lesson that evil is good and you're a dummy. And the outrageousness of this, because I've become like such a lightning rod for this. Like the whole community is there's guys skulking in the dark crevices of all the corners of society, just waiting to get in line to like teach you a lesson. And what's the lesson? They enjoy lying, cheating, and stealing, priding themselves, and you know, being a regular scum. That's the great majority. It's polarized. When you're looking at academia, that's the academics. That's Edward Bernays. That's what, you know, this is the foundation of our society. David Hume, that's the foundation of our society, where cowardice is a virtue, deceit is a virtue, greed is a virtue. These are the great majorities polarized to this, and they become these narcissistic, evil imbeciles. And people experience friends and family who are polarized to this, and in their experience, they're like, what the hell's going on? This is just coming out to the public awareness only recently, because you're reading about it, like, you know, it's a phenomenon. Like, you know, you might have parents, and they might like scapegoat one of the siblings, one of the children in the family, and this has been going on for a long time, and it just throws you for a loop, because you know it's something unfair is happening, but you don't quite recognize how it could be. But it's a subliminal polarity, because the society at large is polarized that way as well. So it's not like it's almost too big to see, because it's a subliminal like polarity, and where you have greed as a virtue, you have deceit as a virtue, and you have cowardice as a virtue, as a great polarity. Now that inversion, because in the appreciated recognition of things, those are vices. That's the noble, you know, out in the day, out in the light belief. You know, everyone's going to tell you they believe those are vices and those are virtues, but there's also these liars who are just superficial, and they're phonies. And the evil evil people are polarized to that, and they know it. They gleefully accept that, so that they're slanderously saying the only true Christians are the conspiring, slime balls. That's the true Christianity. It's just to dupe the people and to abuse and oppress them. And that's the great majority in polarity. They're polarized with that. So that's why you see these people who want to teach you a lesson. Oh, who knows about the Christ? Yeah, every atheist is an expert in all things God. That's an obscene arrogance. That's an obscene narcissism. But that's the great majority. So the atheist is complete master of all things God. And a theist, they're just a bunch of dummies. They don't know anything. And the people come out of the woodwork standing in that polarity. And like I said, it's subliminal. So you're in your life, your families and friends, they're betraying you in all this undeserved ways, and it's throwing you for a loop. You go, where's this coming from? Well, these are like a mindless, polarized people. They love the shadow, they love the dark, they love the hidden. So cowardice is a virtue, deceit is a virtue, and greed is a virtue. These people stand very strongly in that, and when you see the prosperity of the corrupt, they smile and go, that's the right way. They don't tell you that. They go, oh sure, those are bad people. Not like me. I stand for the truth. But they just lie. And they smile and they giggle and they do all these nefarious things, because you really got to make a anecdotal accounting of what these scoundrels do. And on large, the majority is just going to cover for the liars. They're just going to say, no, nothing of the sort is happening. Even to the great polarity where there's no such thing as conspiracies, there's just love. This is the great majority of people. And those are liars. They're the ones who love to lie. And there's no conspiracy, there's just love. That's the great majority. When I'm saying great majority, you're talking about almost 100%. So it's like 90, I would say 90, over 97%. And truly, I'm not exaggerating when I say that, it's over 97%. So you're gonna realize, then there's that 2% people who kind of go, no, this is all bullshit. Because you gotta realize, put those numbers in reality, 1 out of 50. That's real. If you know a lot of people, 300 people, 1,000 people, really it's about 1 out of 50 who's decent. The rest of them are just kind of do whatever, go along to get along. And if you really know people. And that's a pretty accurate assessment. And I've talked with others, they say, yeah, that's pretty much accurate. Then that's the 2%. You're dealing with 97% scum and 2% of decent people. Those aren't superheroes. That's just decent people. Because we're living in an age where the polarity has become so substantial. It's in all our institutions. It's on our television, it's on our radio, it's in our newspapers, it's on, the spiritual leaders, it's in the political leaders, it's in the, everywhere. And yeah, I want to note on correlations and serendipity and the rendered state of the world. Okay, because you are kind of traveling in your concordance with your desires and wishes and and aspirations. But here's an example. So I went through a town where I had lived there for 11 years, and traveling through there on 3 occasions. One, I was there for a couple hours. One, I was there for several hours, and another, I was there for a couple days, just passing through. And in those 3 times I passed through, I ran into 3 people that I knew all 3 times in different places. Just I was there for a couple hours, I ran into these 3 different people in 3 different places. I was there for several hours, I ran into the same 3 people. And I was like, wow, I'm coming through town again and fancy meeting you. And then a 3rd time that happened. That's a crazy coincidence. And it could be maybe there was some mundane orchestration involved in that. Very possible. Someone said, oh, so-and-so is going to be here. He's over here. Go there, meet with him. And don't tell him anything. I mean, that's possible. And I would not say that that's not the case in this situation. It might be, who knows. But here's another, and this could be the same thing, mundane orchestration. I would go through, I had this little woods I grew up in, and I was going there, and about 30 times out of 30 times, just driving through, I ran into this guy I knew. He'd either be walking on the side, because I had to go through a few suburban towns to get to where I'm going, and this is like the fastest way. I had to go through the town he was living in. Pretty, decent sized town, and you could be living in that town and you're not going to run into somebody this many times. 30 times, it's about 30 out of 30, and that's not an exact number, but it's close. So I'm just driving through town, or I'm going to this wood destination, and every single time I go through, I run into him. But I didn't want to talk to him. We had an old associate of mine and his. Well, he's kind of like gaslighting me, smear campaigning me. So I'm looking at it in retrospect later. I go, oh yeah, this same guy, he ran into all my work associates, my family, and all these friend contacts I had, and he was maligning me. And it was like, oh, that's not a coincidence. He was just completely, motivated. He wrote a 850-page book where I'm like the central character, and he's just like mocking me. Like, that's how narcissistically obsessed the guy is. He's not going to tell me what he has, what problem he has with me in the light. But really what it is, he's polarized to such evil, which is the common polarity. He's just like, you don't understand anything. I'm so much better than you. You just can't understand. And it's a shadowy, lie that he stands with the lie. And I, I'm just one of those feeble people, in my mortal coil, living in the light, and believe it's rough because this guy is really doing everything he can to spoil my life. And it's not just him alone. It's the whole polarity of that. And anybody whose radar you get pinged on, they see you and they're gonna bring it down on you. So he was very successful in doing this, and he wasn't the only one, because it's just parallel, and it's harmonic. There's a harmony of these people doing this. So it's like the institution. That's what is clinically determined, that cowardice is a virtue, deception is a virtue, and greed is a virtue. And it's just those primitive people who think, they're called the decent people, the people of polite society with common sense. Those are that's the pathogen. Only the psychopath is good. That's how the clinical Edward Bernays Freudian society, military, church, that's their clinical position. So again, with the serendipity, you run into this, 30 times to run into that character who once turned against me. He was doing all kinds of mind games and just backhandedness, and it's like, wow. So I didn't want to talk with him anymore, because he's like, oh, this guy's got cooties or something, and he's like, oh, don't talk to him. And with his girlfriend, he's like, I ran into him before, and he's like, hello, and I've known him for 30 years. I've known him for a long time. So for him to just oh, no, we're not talking anymore. Did I do something? Yeah, Anthony explained to me all about you. You're one of those people. More or less. That's what he didn't say that in his words, but that's really the conclusion. And it's not like that job is hard, because it's so standardized. Anybody who's a Christian is bad people. This is the clinical assessment. Because yes, that's narcissism, that's the poison of the world. Not the liars and the cheaters and the exploiters and abusers. No. It's the Peter, Pauls, the Johns. Those are the ones. You got to get those guys. Not the exploiters, not the Ahabs, not the Herods, not those guys. Those are the champions. We want to celebrate their great, gracious, virtue. And so it's an easy job for these people to turn people against you, because the great polarity, the great polarized majority is against you. So it's something that happens. But with that serendipitous encounters, that's just part of your rendered world. So and here's another thing I want to point out, which I think is in effect. But when you're taking a path, a spiritual path, and it is hierarchies, there is called ascension. See, these guys are who are part of the shadow. They say they've ascended, they've illuminated, they are transcendent. They say it all the time. all the time. They're the transcendent people. So that means you're not. But that is like, oh no, that's not what I'm saying. Yes, it is what you're saying, because you don't. It's a polarity of things, but they're being, in the dark, hypocritical in the dark. Nice driving. Hypocritically in the dark is they're clean. That's the sanity. That's the righteous. But that's not the case. But that's the big gang, the big club. As George Carlin said, there's a big club and you're not in it. That's a lie right there. There's a big club and you're in it because you're one of the cowards. You're one of the selfish, lying cowards, which is the big club. That's the big club. And they don't want to hear that. You're going to tell them that, and they go, well, I don't want to hear that around here, and they're going to censor that. That's because saying that, that's it. And it's like, so their love is love of darkness, love of deceit, love of greed, love of self. That is their love.